Please rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, welcome to our January 14th regular selectmen's meeting. Roll call, John Hotchkiss here.
Joe Bailey again?
No, this is
John
the
Owen here.
Okay,
Second one,
oh, we have a few things to sign. Board of Selectmen meeting from a week ago. I looked at this one already. Did any motions here?
Motion to accept the minutes of January 7th as written.
Okay. Second. All right. Discussion? No? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Next, planning board clerk appointment. Okay, we have.
That's it.
Oops, sorry. Janelle
Guarino,
Carino,
is that?
planning board clerk, starting today. Okay? And Janelle's right here. Okay? After this is approved, then you have to get sworn in. Hopefully not by yourself. Okay? All right.
Do it self.
Where's the coffee good?
Swear at her.
I said, you give it up and they said,
Go up, then.
Guarino, just go, Gory.
People understand, planning board has its own separate clerk, because when things get busy with the planning board, there's notices to send out, there's abutters to notify, there's minutes to take, and that's all part of what you do, okay? Any other thoughts?
No.
You want a motion to accept?
Make a motion if we accept Janelle Guarino as the new planning board clerk.
Second.
Okay, how long is this for?
Forever and ever, I hope.
Okay. there's
Yeah, I
no-
don't think there's a deadline
There's
for
no,
those.
nothing on there. Okay.
Put down to infinity and beyond.
Right. One day past infinity. All right, comments from anyone? Right. Right now, I believe we do not have one on the planning board. Okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay, we're good.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, Janelle, put you on the spot. You ready?
I'm ready.
When's the next planning board meeting?
February
Oh
14th.
my word. Whoa, all right.
It's already posted. She's already posted.
Okay, department heads. Let's do some department heads that are here already. Kathleen,
All right. So, for,
town clerk, tax collector.
well, it's tax collector, Janelle was gonna do a town clerk portion of it.
Okay, good.
She already gave the reports
Now
to,
you look better.
Laura. I have my tax collector report for December, and it just shows you what we collected, which we collected a lot of money,
Is this for the year or for the month?
just for the month.
Good, okay.
So the month is $2,446,046.24. So this report breaks it out by how we, accepted it, cash, check, electronic. Sorry, bud.
Without getting into all the numbers, although you're welcome to if you wish to. As we approach the end of the year, we're always concerned that we can pay some big bills. Usually once a month, we have a big school bill, but we also have Stratford County bill.
Big one.
Stratford Dispatch is another bill, okay? And it's also time to take the money that's been appropriated at the March meeting and put it in the capital reserve fund, okay? Do we have enough money to do all that?
We did.
All right, so
I hope.
no tan notes.
No.
I thought Sandy should know that one, but.
Yeah, the treasurer. Where's the treasurer? Not here.
But we should, yeah, I mean, we got a lot of funds in.
Everybody know what a TAN is? T-A-N? Tax anticipation note. Municipalities, they go to a local bank for a short term, usually 90 days or less, loan. And sometimes it's a big amount. It's in anticipation of getting the taxes in. What is this? I guess this is my 7th year of doing this, I've only seen one tan. And that was, what, 3 or 4 years ago? It was a time we did it almost every year. So,
What kind of
So,
interest, what kind of interest do you usually had to pay?
Expensive.
geez, I don't remember.
I think that one's right around 4%, a little over 4%.
Waste of money.
No, not unless you have to do
No,
it.
no, if you have to.
Yeah. Yes, you
If I
do.
don't have it, you gotta get it.
But this year we don't have to, right?
Nope.
Right, do not.
Good.
Yeah.
Since I've been sleeping, we've only done it once.
Yeah, typically don't have to do it. If you manage your cash properly, you don't have to.
Well, you're charged enough not to have to.
We tried like hell not to.
Yeah.
We were a little under the gun because the tax rate was a little late.
Yep,
Not a little late, it was a lot late.
it was a lot late, by a month almost.
Yeah.
crazy.
Nobody's fault in particular, just the way things.
It is what it is.
So we were careful paying those big bills. Middleton prides itself in trying to pay the bills on time. For some of those, we weren't late, but we certainly were not early. Paid them on time. All right. Tax collector,
That was me.
town clerk.
Well, Janelle's new at it, so.
To learn sometime.
So, she already gave her report to Laura, her December report.
Is that on or was it off?
So, just making sure.
So it's-
December 2018, right?
Yes, December 2018.
Oh, miscellaneous revenue, I know what that is.
Janelle, you're in the process of learning all this.
I am.
Are there any classes you're going to, or is it just on-the-job training?
I did do DMV certification, so I am certified in that, and I think we have a couple of classes.
Yeah, she's gonna be coming with me to the tax collect, but usually in March, when everybody gets voted on, there's new
Okay.
town clerk classes. She's gonna be going
Okay,
too.
good.
So it's usually through Avatar.
All right. I'm all set.
Okay. Cool.
See if I can do this.
Any comments from anybody? All right. Assessing,
That's me again.
yes.
So, obviously our abatements are up. I have 6 abatements that I have and I've already given to Avatar. Abatement is somebody doesn't agree with their assessing.
Is
I'm
that it?
sorry,
Is that it so far?
not an abatement. Is it abatement? Yes, it's, okay, abatement application, yes. That's it so far, but I've had 6 people on top of that request abatement applications that I have not gotten back yet.
Have these ones, are these ones that have not yet gone to court, or are they're?
These are brand new, oh, sorry,
Brand new,
brand new.
so they have gone to Avatar for a response.
A response.
And we're waiting for those responses.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
In 25 words or less, explain please the difference between you, the assessing clerk, and the assessor, of which there's no one
I don't want to do
in
this.
Middleton that is the assessor.
Correct.
We have a company. So
It's
what's
a
the
company
difference?
that we hire out, or we pay them to go out. So an assessor goes out and looks at your house and pretty much puts value on it. I, as an assessor clerk, inputs that information, or I guess I'm the secretary to the assessor.
Good.
You don't make
Whatever.
the decisions.
I
you're
do not
just-
make decisions.
You're
Correct.
just the data entry and retriever.
Yep.
You're the
Anything they
local
need.
Yeah.
clerk for the assessor.
Exactly,
Avatar services many, many communities.
yes.
They do not have an office in Middleton.
Nope.
Yeah,
They don't have an office in every single
Well,
town.
it is here, yes, correct.
But,
So people come to see me
Right.
about their concerns, and then I relay that to Avatar, or I help them
Okay.
in any way I can.
my advice to everyone is don't kill the messenger, okay? If they're upset with their taxes, they can come talk to you, but all the hooting and hollering in the world is not gonna change it. You'll pass the information on to first the assessor, and ultimately, after they've talked, it comes before the selectmen.
Yeah.
Okay, you,
I mean, so far so good, everybody's been very respectful and, yeah.
okay, thank you. Anything else? Planning board,
Yep.
Roger, please.
Planning board is, we just got our new clerk, which is a big help. We're still, we're up to date and everything. The big thing now is getting that Warren article put on the ballots. we got 5 things, you know, 4 things that's going on the ballot to be approved for the book. And we're still in a holding pattern on Middleton Building Supply. They're supposed to come and see us.
Have they stopped work
Yeah,
because
The
they've been told
state-
to, or because of the bad weather?
the state put a cease and desist on them.
Okay.
We didn't do it, the state did it. State gave them 90 days to come up with their,
Mitigation plan.
yeah, the mitigation plan. We gave them 65 to come back with all the information we need, alteration of terrain, 2 or 3 other things they had to bring back to us, so they'll bring as much as they can next meeting. And I think on the next meeting, it's, again, this is up to the board, this is not just up to me, but I think what we'll do is, we'll extend their time for getting their stuff put together. So that's where we're at right now with them. And the next thing is coming up, letting the selectmen know, Wednesday at 11 o'clock. Sean from Blue Sky will be here. He will be doing application to start the building project. So if you guys want to come in and meet Sean, it's okay. After that, I will be going to lunch with Sean. If anybody wants to go to lunch with us, that's fine too. I've let my counterpart, she has doctor's appointments. I let John know, so
What time on Wednesday?
11 o'clock.
And John, Roger, if all goes well, they do not have to wait till perfect weather to start building.
So they can
Correct?
start right, day to get, Wednesday, he gets the permit to go ahead and start building. If he's got the trucks down there, he can go ahead and start that day.
Uh, On a personal note, since I'm liaison to the zoning board, it is your belief from the planning board that there are no variances needed, or
No.
no
So
special exceptions.
everything is taken care of and
Good.
caught up and everything else, so
All right.
he's filing for the building permit, so.
Good. Comments, questions? All right, Roger, as long as you're going at it, I'm not looking for particular details, just the general direction or choices of direction for cemetery. Because I think we now have some choices.
My look at it,
Well, you're on the cemetery committee, right?
yeah, well, I'm the head
All right, so just,
bottle washer,
See the headstone?
so.
things have changed.
I was asked at the last meeting, which I have not done because I'm doing other things, if we could buy from Wakefield 6 or 7 plots, I don't know how many plots, and use that as a Middleton, in case somebody wanted to use it. I have not asked on that yet. The other situation was to go ahead and develop that area down here. I don't know if the selectmen are going, or if how that's gonna go. Are we gonna hold some kind of meeting for that, or what, to find out? Personally, what I think right now is, let's do a public meeting on the cemetery and see which way everybody wants to go. So,
if I understand what we're talking about, cemetery. For the past few years, we've been operating under the impression that we must have our own cemetery in town. A stopgap measure has been to pay $1,200
yeah.
per
Right.
year to Wakefield, who agreed to it, to allow us to bury people in Wakefield. We have set aside a capital reserve fund to start building up for our own cemetery. We've had soil tests from a piece of property over here on New Durham Road. Now what's happened recently?
Recently, the state has changed that and said as long as you are in,
Making provision for them to.
right, making provision, you don't have to have a cemetery in town, you're all set.
So that means we don't have to build our own. Maybe we just keep paying money to somewhere. Right now it's Wakefield, but maybe it could be
Yeah, maybe I could say-
someplace else and not have a cemetery. That kind of affects what the selectmen do for warrant articles for March. How much is in the capital reserve fund now?
I don't know off the top of
15,000?
my head, and I don't know who takes, I know when we were putting 5 at the beginning, I think we put 10 last year or something like that. So probably close to 20.
We have to
How much?
decide,
35,000?
That's all we got in there?
do we keep going with our
You
own
guys don't
cemetery?
waste money.
Or do we take that money out because we're not gonna build one and put it somewhere else, right? Yes.
What I'd like to see, if we're going to have a public meeting, I'd like to see what exactly do we get for the 1,200 with, you said Wakefield?
Right.
Does that mean that if someone dies and they want to be buried in Wakefield, there are no additional expenses, or does the deceased family or whatever estate have to purchase a plot?
Right.
And does that take care of perpetual care? So I'd like to know what that
Is
1,200.
that in the contract between us and Wakefield?
Basically, it's just the groundskeeping.
Okay, so.
It's our portion of the groundskeeping for the Wakefield cemeteries, from what I understood in the contract.
Not much of anything.
I'd
Yeah,
like,
so you don't get anything, you gotta buy your plot, or you gotta buy your
Just like,
perpetual
just
care.
like any other,
well, anyway, I'd like to see that detailed so that, actually even in a printed form, so that you could present it to the people, say, this is what we get if we do this.
okay.
I'd like to see if we go with constructing our own cemetery, maintaining our own, what are some of the relevant costs, related costs, all that would entail. And if there are any other options, I'd like to know how those would work.
First John and then John.
No, I really don't understand why we have to get involved with any of the communities, because if somebody dies in town, they make arrangements with either Farmington, Milton Mills, Wakefield, any one of those towns will accept us because they're gonna be paying to go into their cemetery. I think what the whole intent of this was, is there's somebody who dies in town who has no money, then we have a place to bury that
Say
person.
that.
Does the
I don't think it's
RSA say you
so.
have to have an
The
agreement?
intent was not, it was brought up that way, would you, I'll get back with you, okay, then you can
I
go.
got people's heads going all different
But
ways.
what the intent was by the cemetery committee was, there was nothing about burying indigent, burying somebody who walks on the side of the road, drops dead, we go over there and pick them up, put them in the cemetery. It was for everybody who went. So that's the way the law was wrote. We needed a cemetery, or we needed a place to bury our dead. It came down to the point, most people who have money go get buried someplace else, like John said. So it came down, basically, the indigent was gonna be put over there. But even though we have the contract, if John wanted to be buried over there, well, we got a contract with him and you could be buried over there.
Okay,
So,
Okay, John,
okay.
and then Roger next.
Okay, if the hearing is established, then I would suggest that the cemetery commission put the hearing together. That those questions are very good questions to ask, and if you have not already answered them, you should investigate those type of questions, because those are good questions. We're paying $1,200, and we're not sure what we're paying for. So, Ms. Parker here is saying that we are paying for maintenance, okay, is that the fee? Does everybody, okay, and then is it normal practice that you go in and I think it is, in most cases, you go in and you pay for a lot. So if the $1,200 fee includes, it allows us to bury there, but it doesn't say we have to pay, then we gotta figure that out. Then we have to know if that's the case. Then if that's the case, we have, the statute, the way I've read it, is very unclear. It's very short. Doesn't give us a lot of direction as to say, we pay for the burial. All it does is says we provide a place. So we have provided a place. It doesn't mean that we pay for the burial. That would be a matter of interpretation of the statute. That's the way I would read that. So I would think those questions that you asked should be all put together so that at that hearing it can all be put forth.
Okay, Bob?
I'm really concerned of our tax bills going up and up, and you guys got a hard job. I'm very appreciative of you doing it. But we've got to stop providing things that weren't here when people moved here. Anybody in a normal mind buys a house, the first thing they look at is what they're gonna get for support from the town they're moving to. What kind of school the kids are gonna go to, this and that. This is a small community that cannot keep afford. These people will want, next thing you know, I've already got my spot, so if I got the next one, you wanna buy one? But, you know, we take care of that, but we just can't keep on more and more stuff with our limited income of our supply of tax money. Now, you guys are regulated by that, not me. But when you have people that only make $30,000 on average per household, if you're running a business, you have to run it within that budget. If we keep, I know the laws change, and that's why I listen to that budget, holy Christ, it's so many laws, it's unbelievable what you guys have to follow. But what I'm saying, can't we just stop providing services that we've never provided? Because people want this, they want that. Well, if they wanted that, why did they move to a place that had it? No, they moved to a place that was cheap at the time. And it's got ridiculous. I lived here because I moved here because we didn't have nothing. I voted against everything since I've been here. We've got everything by buying it out of excess money. We vote against time and time again against stuff. It gets overridden. My tax is gone from $300 to $300 a week. Now that doesn't sound like much to you, but I never made a lot of money in my life. When are we gonna stop? How can we help you guys as a town stop this expended cent? It just can't keep going on. I called with list my house today. But he said, "You got a hard sell, boy. Your taxes are astronomical." I said, "Yeah, I know that." And I got to concede on my house in order to sell it because you guys, not you guys directly, but this town keeps adding and adding and adding. It's never sufficient.
Yes.
I come here with no ambulance, no nothing. I took my own kid to I fainted a set of blood. My kid fell off a tree, broke his arm out. I took him to the hospital myself because I knew that's all we had. Everybody wants to be waited on like the downtown Boston.
Yes, you're correct in saying that the selectmen and the townspeople have some choice in this, but there are also state laws coming out of Concord.
We could have a Boston
that we
Tea
have
Party.
to- Well, but we are.
Well, come on.
Right,
It's gonna stop someday.
all right, thank you. Joanne?
Once again, I think it is, the state says we need to provide for our citizens. Now, if the state says we have to provide, it's not a question of whether we want to spend the money or not. One more question to add to that list, by the way, would be for that 1,200, does that mean if we want to bury one person or 50 people? Does that cover all?
That has been asked before. The cemetery commission needs to address those questions and what is it? And I wasn't here when the contract was signed. I don't know what it reads. I just know we spend the money right now, so.
For the way I understand it, it is a state statute that we do have to do
It
this.
says all we must do is provide. What does that mean?
Right, does that mean we can provide them a list
I
of
don't know.
area cemeteries?
That is typical of New Hampshire state statutes, and they kind of leave it up, I think, to the interpretation of the town. What does that mean until, if it says you shall provide burial, now what does it mean when you shall provide, what does it say? You shall provide a place to bury. What does that mean? Does that mean you gotta what you suggest, to go out and buy the plots? Or do we have, I don't know what it means.
Right.
So how do you find that out? I guess you could call the Attorney General, because don't call the House, because they won't know what it is, and say, what does this mean?
Right.
John, you might very well be correct when you said that a Middleton resident could be buried in any of the local towns. There are towns in New Hampshire that will not bury anyone unless they're a resident,
Right.
okay? Because the cemetery is nearly full.
Yeah,
So I'm not suggesting that
expensive.
happening around here, but I think that's the intent of the law. Someplace you have to make arrangements, okay? But you're right, you know, I just want a place with a view.
I look at it this way, you don't see anybody on the side of the road dead out here because we put them in a trailer on Tuesdays. And they go with the truck.
All right, Bob?
You not did anything.
If anybody's from Middleton, they know by the location of school, you can't even get a place to put somebody in the ground here, they'll float to the top, or be so many rocky, you can't get them in there. So it's this is not some little small thing you're gonna do.
No, it's gonna cost some big bucks for that.
Big bucks to have one, so we really
Up and down.
should really look towards telling the state to go to hell
It's not gonna happen.
and find out what the legal ramifications, whether we have to or not have to.
Well, I think, Mr.
Not tell them to go
President,
to hell, but as you said, call the Attorney
well, you
General.
can in a nice way, but
Yes, you definitely can, you can ignore them too.
well, you can, but you won't ignore them for too long, but I think.
You can ignore them forever.
Yeah, I think.
You got a good enough lawyer,
maybe
you ain't got
call
one.
the Attorney General, or you could start by calling our attorney and saying, what does this actually mean? If you don't like that answer, I would call the Attorney General and they should be able to tell you what's.
The Attorney General's the one to put me on.
Okay. Jim?
I'm just wondering, with 35 grand in the pot, that's a lot of plots over at Milton Mills. We have some plots over at Milton Mills. I can't remember how much they were, but they weren't absorbing it, you know. And you could buy like 6, or, you know, you can buy
Right.
multiple ones. I'd be curious to know, like, in the last 10 years, how many people have we had that,
Have requested, right?
Yes.
right, and I mean, so with 35,000, I'm wondering if you bought, say, 6 plots, and you kept some money in there that if you had to pay Peasley, whatever it is for the,
We don't.
No.
But they gotta interpret what the
What we're really,
statute
what we
Right.
really are to provide, if we are just to
Right.
provide access to burial is one thing. If we're supposed to be able to provide the cost of burial, which I
No.
hope was not the intent of the
Good gracious,
statute.
no.
The intent of the statute
Anybody
was,
standing
I
on 2
think,
feet anymore.
just to provide a place that people can bury, that, and we've always talked about indigenous people, but those who can't afford it,
Right.
whatever the reason is, we have to provide a place to do that.
Sure.
So, the 6, if I may,
Right.
the 6 plots is fine, but what if we have, it could happen, 6 people in the town go all at once, okay, so then what, okay, so so then we gotta buy additional plots, okay, I mean, we don't know how much the plots are, we don't know what that entails, so we need to further investigate that before you have a hearing, or a public, hearing on terms of which way the town wants to go.
Everybody I know
I've heard
buries
all
the people-
kinds,
people
I've
own
heard
it.
all kinds of numbers about setting this place up down here on New Durham Road, and it is 6 digits at least.
Yeah.
Just
Get started.
ground, just site work,
Joanne?
and a lot of fill. You'd be happy with that, with a lot of fill.
Joanne?
Just as an aside, for if anybody's interested in saving money, according to state statute in New Hampshire, you can bury your own dead. Well, you can, not say bury your own dead, but you can provide the funeral services for your own deceased persons. You sign as the funeral director, you can pick up the body at the hospital or wherever it is. You can deliver to the crematorium if that's your option. You can buy the casket, which I think you can get them for a couple of $100
There's
for a
also a
crematorium.
cardboard box, it's about
Yeah.
that big.
Yeah.
Actually, no, it's not, because we took care of my mother's and the entire funeral with the cremated remains, including cards and the whole bit, was less than $500.
Well, in response to Mr. Todd's, where do we stop, we have to find out, do we have, what would be, here's my thing, what would be the criteria to say that we pay?
Right.
Right.
Is it
In
an
town,
income criteria? I mean, those are questions that should be, not by us right now, because we don't, it should be the cemetery commission that should investigate all those, I think.
Bob?
I've got a plot in family, and I have to pay, when it comes time, my wife has to pay to dig the hole, put me in the ground. Don't have to tell the family not gonna pay it, you're not gonna pay it, my wife's not, I ain't gonna pay it. I'm gonna pay it because I got taxes if I die quick enough. I got insurance to pay for it, so, but I only got 2 years left, so I better go quick. But so, you know, they just tell them we gotta provide a place for it.
Right.
In the middle of a place to bury properly.
Yeah.
And you want a view, it's gonna cost a fortune.
I don't.
Yeah, but we're gonna charge you that
And that's the only thing we're responsible for, is to have a cemetery, not to put people in it. That's that law said by me, we gotta provide a place for people in town to buy a place in that cemetery, not give it to them.
Probably, Mr. Todd, that was the intent of the statute, probably. But it's not,
I'll shut up.
it's not.
You may have to tell me.
I'd like to
Don't be
move on,
But
summarize by saying that the selectmen who prepare the warrant articles for the March meeting, this is the middle of January, we can get them
There you
done.
go.
We have a conundrum. There's already 35,000 sitting there. Do we add to it? Do we say, do nothing this year? Do we take that money and put it somewhere else?
Oh, yeah.
If we're not gonna build a cemetery?
My
The other,
recommendation as the cemetery committee chair is to do nothing until we get everything set. Just
Okay.
let it go this year.
the other last comment is, if I get a nice looking casket for myself, could I use it for the coffee table in my living room?
Yes, you can.
I can, all right.
Yes, it can.
Be careful when that time comes around, because that's next to the piece of equipment, to make a tax on it.
You also can rent, you can rent one for the funeral.
All right, there you go. Okay, moving on, please. Code enforcement, John,
Can't,
please.
Rick's not here, but I asked about 2 weeks ago if we could have a sign put up on Sunrise Drive. When they removed the telephone pole down there, the pole went and the sign was still on it, and we don't have one.
A sign
So
for
for
what?
911, I think we should get a sign put
It
up.
says Sunrise Drive?
Sunrise
That's
Drive.
right, good.
Permits have slowed way down. Now Roger's bringing somebody in next Wednesday, or this Wednesday, which is gonna be a good thing, the tower permit.
What was that, on what road was the?
Sunrise.
Sunrise Drive.
Thank you.
Starting to work on putting together a new list of fees for the building. Any type of building, everything that we're doing. We are lacking way behind in fees on electrical, plumbing, mechanical, everything. We're doing with a building permit. If you pull a building permit out and you're doing electrical work and plumbing work, it's covered under that building permit. No other town around does that, not one. They all have a fee for each one of those. And the reason I'm saying this is because if I have to go out and do an inspection, and Peter has to go out and do an electrical inspection, and I have to go out and do a plumbing inspection, we've lost money on the permit. The town is paying for that, not the person doing the project. So I'm putting together a new list. I will submit it to you people, what I recommend then, and you look it over, we can sit down and go over it, and then you bring it to whoever you have to get it approved or thrown out or whatever.
I certainly agree people should pay their fair share. I don't think we should be using it as a source of income. So we've got to get a good balance in there
That-
between
What I'm looking for, I think right now we're
low.
losing money on us going out inspecting.
All right. Health officer, anything you want to talk about that?
No, we don't have another meeting until, can't remember the date. Arthur just sent a copy out. Arthur Capella is the guy that's in charge of it. I just sent in my approval again to be the health officer, if you approve it. And I also asked Laura to give you a copy of that same thing to send in your name too.
Yes.
So you're the deputy.
Okay. Discussion? Fire department? Please.
Can I have one more comment before I shut up?
Let's take a vote. Can you
sorry,
have another
Bill.
comment? Okay, never mind. You can have one, go ahead.
I just want to let people know, I've been telling you that we've been busier and busier and busier. We went 20% over on the fees that we collected from the year before last year. 20% over.
Collected 20% more fees?
Income that we made, the town made. So that, in order to do that, you know we're a lot busier.
Yes. Yeah. Okay,
One kid in
thank
school
you.
went there.
Chief?
So I'm gonna end up trying to get you guys some sort of a standard format for the department heads meeting, so when you get the reports, it's got more of what you want. I'm also gonna make sure that when they get brought in, you'll get your year-to-date, what's happened in the last month, as well as your year-to-date. So, you'll see the mileage and the hours for the equipment. We've had 3 fire calls so far this year, 2 medical calls, 1 transport.
This is in 2019, right, Bill?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
2 weeks,
14 days into the year.
in 2 weeks?
Wow.
We've gone over to Acton, Maine twice for mutual aid, so that was really good. They've had a couple of structure fires over there, so it's been nice that they've called us over. Also, I just got an email today started from the Fish and Game, that they're starting up a Lakes Region Search and Rescue team. And we are one of the people that they've invited to talk about, what we wanna do, where we wanna go. So I was pretty impressed with that we're invited to it. That's gonna be January 30th up at Castle in the Clouds.
Good luck following up to there. Just wanna make sure I understand, I think I do. When we go to mutual aid for another community, we send a truck and 5 people. All that we contribute is paid for by the town. The other hand is, if we need mutual help, and Farmington comes or Rochester comes, they pay for their portion.
Correct.
So it's kinda, look out for each other.
Yep.
Mutual aid is.
Alright? So,
Yeah.
I am pleased that little tiny Middleton is being asked to provide mutual aid to other towns.
Yeah.
Okay? I mean, I understand Rochester, they're big, or
Yeah.
even Farmington and Milton's bigger than we are, but that's good,
Yeah, to go over to Acton, Maine, I thought was pretty good,
yeah.
so.
Why?
Bob?
Why do you think it was pretty good?
Because it shows that, we're being recognized by the other towns. And when they call for help, instead of us not being thought of.
Do
more
they
people
belong
are-
to mutual aid also?
Yeah, so if we need something, we call them, they come over as well.
That's okay. When you say Acton, I just figured that they come, let's respond to you if you call them.
Absolutely, yep,
Good practice.
yeah, absolutely.
I remember a year or 2 ago, fire on,
But don't bring no water in my house.
no, Nicola, there was need for out-of-town service, help with that one,
Yep.
okay?
I mean, even on Sunday, we had a reported structure fire. So first thing we called a first alarm, so we had people coming in from Wakefield, Milton, New Durham, Farmington. So when something like that happens, luckily it wasn't anything, and we can turn them all around, so.
EMS, please.
Well, that's been pretty much the same.
Okay.
We've only had 2 calls so far this year. One of them's been a transport.
Okay. Anybody else? Alright, did I miss any department heads? I still have some more departments.
I got something.
Yes.
That chassis, is it in yet?
No,
Okay.
no.
So Laura, I guess I'm gonna ask you for a few of these, please.
No report.
That probably means, animal control, no report,
No.
okay? And I think that's all of them. Highway?
No report.
How about welfare?
I've only had one inquiry, and he did not come back this week yet.
Why is that?
Nice.
I'm the liaison to the school board, and I can tell you they're meeting, they used to have 2 meetings a month, they're down to 1, and they're working on the budget. To the credit of our budget committee, their budget is being scrutinized more extensively than it has in my knowledge, than it ever has been. Roxanne, would you agree? And it's like
Yes,
pulling
I
teeth
agree.
because it's hard to get information out of them, but you are hanging tough on it, so thank you. Okay?
When is that budget?
Next Monday night.
Next Monday.
Yep, or a week from tonight, yep.
I'm liaison to zoning, nothing occurred in the past month for zoning. Okay. Emergency management, not here, okay. How about conservation? Are you on that?
Yeah, I'm on that. I can talk about this milfoil thing, because that's part of conservation.
Right.
A couple things here. I have, this year we have I have decided, along with Health and Conservation Commission, with the advice and consultation with the New Hampshire DES, that instead of, in our milfoil mitigation program this year, instead of using the pulling with the vacuum, going down with divers and pulling up, we're going to apply a herbicide this year. We have about 11.3 acres of milfoil, still keeps cropping up each year, and it's the pulling seems to be the hand pulling by divers seems to be okay, but it doesn't seem to, it comes back in the late summer. We spend anywhere from $8,000 to $10,000 a year on the diver, what it's called DASH, diver assisted suction harvest. They go out with a raft and they have a big hose and they go down and they have to pull it out. So this year, we're going to do a herbicide treatment. The herbicide is a brand new treatment. It is a proprietary treatment by, I don't know the name of the company, but it's called Procelicor. The EPA has approved it, has gone under extensive testing. So has New Hampshire DES, and I believe Fish and Game and Agriculture Department have done it. The state has conducted a 2-year test at a few lake locations, and the results are those is that the milfoil where it was treated has not come back in 2 years. So it's a pretty excellent treatment. It's minimal impact to the environment and the water and the fish and all the animals and plants that are in the lake. The only negative is it's expensive. So this year the treatment's going to cost about $16,000, and the state will pay, hopefully, 25% of that. So the $16,000 will drop down to 12. We have $10,000 in the capital reserve. We're going to ask for a warrant article to add some money to that. I have a contract here. The most important thing is that we are conducting a seminar. I'll give this to you, Joanne, because you'll be most appreciative.
Got it off the internet already.
Oh, you already got that stuff, okay. Saturday on February 16th at the Old Town Hall, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Amy Smagula, who is the limologist and exotic species program coordinator for New Hampshire DES. She's pretty pretty well known across the country in terms of her knowledge of milfoil and those type of species and the treatments of those species in various lakes. Will be here to explain what we have done thus far at Sunrise Lake, its success or lack of success, what the herbicide treatment is involved, answer any questions or concerns about what it is, how it works, how it's applied. So I encourage everybody to come on Saturday, February 16th, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at the Old Town Hall, and can learn about this herbicide treatment that we're going to try this year. We've done herbicides before. We did herbicides when we kind of let the weed go a little bit several years ago when we had about 22 acres of milfoil infestation. Now we only have 11.3. I guess the ultimate goal would be to eliminate it, but it seems to be showing up in pockets now on all parts of the lake, particularly at the boat launch and down by the lakeshore beach. There's pockets there. It's still showing up in what I call Pinkham Cove and the other cove on the other side of Pinkham. So I encourage you to do that. This is the contract. And the state should be back to me by the end of this week in terms of the amount of grant money that will go to. And this contract is for $16,000. We don't have to pay it all at once, thank God for that. $16,182. The first fee is $1,490, and it's due sometime in January, so they can begin the permit process, because they have to go through the permit because it's a herbicide, it's a chemical treatment. Then the next payment would be the first treatment, which would be sometime between June or September. That would be the bulk of the fee for the treatment. That's actually when they would treat. That would be $9,892. And then after those treatments, whether we do 1 or 2 treatments, depends, they will do herbicide testing to measure the results. That's about $3,800 to do that. And then in October, $1,000 for a post-treatment survey. Hopefully, this will, and I sent out an email to everybody that I had an email address to. We put it on the town website. This is a map that was done in November of last year of where the infestations are within the lake. Those are the orange spots. And this is, right here is where most of the infestation is. This is Pinkham. I call this Pinkham Point. I don't know if that's what it's called, but that's what I call it. Then this is where milfoil was originally infested. Milfoil before was way out to here. And here it was just thick as a rock. Wasn't too much here, wasn't too much here, wasn't too much there, wasn't too much there. So now, this is where the infestation. So the herbicide treatment will basically go around here. This is the beach is right here. The lakeshore beach is right there. This is off of Dowling. It's a bad place, and it's a good place for weeds to grow, but a bad place to treat. This here can be treated. Oh, it's very shallow. This is very shallow. This is hard to get to on boats, but there's infestations here. Here, this is the launch area. So this would make sense. It's a launch area. Doesn't necessarily mean, well, how does milfoil get here? It's either transported in from an outside source, or we have a lot more watercraft that are flying around on the lake during the summer, and they fly into here, and they go over here, and they fly over here. So if they pick up any of that milfoil whatsoever and stop, it'll settle down. If you launch a boat and you don't do what you're supposed to do, wash, clean, and dry, you can get some in here. So this would be where this is what the quote was based on. They'll do another map search probably before in the springtime, before they actually do a treatment. And then the treatment will be based on the new map. And what the state does, they send out a team, you get in a boat, they go around to all these spots, and they got a little clicker that's hooked up to a GPS. So they see some milfoil, they hit it, it goes into the computer. If they hit another one, they hit another one, and you can get a little clicky if you pick up every plant. But they get an idea where it is. So that's what happened. The important thing for the townspeople is to understand this is a new treatment. It's been highly recommended that we do it for this lake here by DES, and we decided to do it this time to see what happens, and hopefully it'll be successful. I'm pretty sure, hopefully, that it will be.
Okay.
So,
Joanne, I think was first. No?
You
Yes.
mentioned that it was about 16,000 for this, and yet it said that it was expensive. Well, yes, it is, but in the long term, if you're spending $8,000 for a diver, and this does 2 years,
yeah.
and you're getting grant money from the state, this is a
It's-
bargain.
It's not the cost to buy, it's the cost to own. So you may pay more up front than you typically have, which
In the long run,
we
you're
would
saving
be,
money.
but we may save in the long haul, and more importantly, we may diminish dramatically the milfoil infestation we have in the lake, and that's what we want to do.
Jim?
Is the only public access out here on 153?
Correct.
It is, you can't really get a big boat in, you know, like a.
What's big? You can launch, I've seen people launch pontoons. Most people that have pontoons, that don't have access up can launch from there.
Like a, you know, bass boats and stuff like that. they
What's a
put in there.
fast boat?
No,
Bass, not
Oh, yeah, all the
Oh,
time.
that's
They're
good.
they're launched from there all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's, you can launch a 22-foot, 25-foot pontoon. I've seen bass boats, not many. Most of the bass boats that are there are on the lake already, but I've seen them out there, yeah.
Bob?
My concern is using herbicide. Now, these people that are telling you that it's safe to use, who are they?
Who's this?
Who are
Who's saying
telling you
it's
that it's
safe
safe
to
to
use?
use?
Who's saying it's safe to
The state, that's the state, that's the
EPA,
DES.
EPA.
New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services,
Is each one of these outfits
yeah.
willing to accept the liability factor of you people on the lake if you get sued in a class action suit for contaminating it like with some kind of insecticide, pesticide, which is, like they're doing that in Monsanto or whatever it is. But you don't want you to open yourself up to. There's money hungry people out there.
I understand, I totally
And
understand you.
I'd like to see you say that you could make these organizations say, we'll stand behind it sue-wise. Then they'll mean what they're telling you.
I have faith in,
Yes.
I don't, just a minute, let me speak if I may. I understand totally where you're coming from. Everybody, including myself, is always concerned about putting foreign stuff in the body of water. DES is highly committed to keeping water in New Hampshire clean. Your drinking water, your lake water, your stream water, they go overboard. They spend an inordinate amount of time managing that and taking care of it. This particular, we've done herbicides before. It was a derivative of DDT.
That stuff used to work, myself.
Okay, but it's different from what it really
I
was. It's
understand.
not Agent
But do you-
Orange, it's not Agent Orange, okay? But I have faith that if DES, in cooperation and conjunction with EPA, and we've done tests on this within the state, found, at least what I've been told, and Amy will be able to expand on this when she's at the meeting in terms of what the results of the tests were, what they found, because this is an excellent question that you put forth as to, I'm concerned, would you stake your life on it? Nothing is 100%.
No, but you did say something about, in 2 years of testing, it's been fine. And
Yeah.
I'm not against you people having, you guys pay enough tax, you ought to have it all, you know, but.
But you're right,
You know,
be concerned about.
But I'm
what
concerned
other-
about what short gap stuff that we do all the time in this
Yeah,
country.
oh, absolutely. I
As a
mean,
result, could be really a very We could
Well,
wipe the
this
whole
has
place
been
out.
tested, I'm told, and I was familiar of this particular herbicide treatment 4 years ago when it first was developed by, and I don't know the name of the company, but why it's so expensive because it's proprietary. And obviously, they had to do 2 years of testing prior to the state doing 2 years. So my understanding is there's probably 2 to 4 years of history, not necessarily on New Hampshire lakes, but other bodies of water.
But you see what's happening with Roundup.
Absolutely, yeah.
And this criminals come and say, I've got cancer from that lake. I'm gonna sue you.
Well,
The guy that tells you it's sick, you ought to be liable, not you.
Well,
She was told
we
by a
can,
reputable
that's
source.
a good question to ask.
But you're never gonna get a
Amy,
lawyer's record for
because
that.
She'll be able to, I'm gonna tell you that she probably will say, we can't guarantee 100%.
No, I know they can't, but are you guys willing to take that risk?
Well,
If it ruins your lake?
well, based
And it
on what
costs you
I've
money?
heard, I think it's a good chance to try to mitigate the process. So anyway, the meeting will, I think it'll be important for everybody that has questions like that to come to the meeting. And if you don't like what you hear, you certainly have.
It's not that I don't like it, you know, I'm probably in a chemical warfare myself, so. The young people today are so sensitive to this stuff. And it's an easy buck to get somewhere. They know how to follow the route.
Joe?
You said the contract should be signed, you have to sign, when do we have to sign the contract?
Well, they want it signed somewhere between January and the 1st of February.
Okay, but we have to raise and appropriate next additional monies to pay for this.
That's correct. We don't have.
So we're gonna enter into a contract without approval from the
Well,
townspeople?
Yep. You don't have to, you can
Just
hold
ask,
off,
I'm
you
just
can
making
hold
sure.
off. We can tell them that we can't, but they have a certain timeline to go through, and we can certainly say, we're not gonna sign until we appropriate the money. That's true.
Just asking.
Yeah, that's a good question.
If after the testing they deem it necessary to hit it again, is that an added cost?
Of course it is.
No. The way I read the contract, it says, what it says is the first the application is June or September. June or September. Should less acreage require treatment and/or different herbicide application rate be required, the cost will be adjusted accordingly. It doesn't say what that will be, so that's
But
something.
it's not down.
No, that's something we can check. Please note that less acreage may require a higher application rate. This particular herbicide has a high application rate. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know if it's, I think it's like a flake that they spray out and then it settles down on the water. So those are questions that, before we sign this, that I can address for those.
Just 25 words or less. Explain why it's important that the town keep track of this lake.
Okay. The lake is first of all, it's a very important resource for the town because almost half of the tax base comes from the residents surrounding the lake, the village district lake. So, property values, that's what, you talk about taxes going up, then my taxes went up because lake property or lake access property has gone up and is in demand. So to keep the lake is just like any other asset that the town has, just like the roads, just like the school, just like the fire department, the highway department. It is an important asset to bring in the taxes. If we did nothing would change for a couple years, 2, 3 years, 4 years, but down the road, if you can't access the lake, put your boat in the water because you can't run it, people they're not gonna go there. So the people that are gonna be there, are gonna be, I'm not saying stuck, but there's gonna be less demand for that, less property values for that, less taxes for that. So it's important, it's just look at it as another asset. It's just like putting money into our roads, because it provides an opportunity to people to access a body of water which is in demand, who pay higher taxes to the town, which allows us to do certain things. It's just it's like maintaining, trying to repair the roof on this building, the old town hall, whatever. That's the way I look at it. That's not 25 words.
John?
Come on, his 25 words are up.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Tony?
Does it, actually, the state owns that lake.
No,
The state owns all the bodies of water in the
That is
nation.
correct. We don't own, the people of New Hampshire own all water bodies. We don't own the water.
You wouldn't know it by the way you can get on them, I can tell you that.
Well,
You sneak in
And-
there, you say, hi.
Well, if you paid their taxes, you'd want the right to say, don't you come on my meter.
Zero. I mean, at least you can get on now.
You might ask why the village district,
Well, I know why. I was here when that was all formed, you know.
because the village district was formed for the impoundment of the water,
only.
the dam, not,
And in fact, our town voted against helping to pay for the dam that the state mandated to be fixed, which we should have paid
Thank
for.
you.
And I voted for it, so I'm not all against it. Because we used to have state town people against lake people. And the reporter, if you say that in the paper again, I'll burn that big paper down.
yeah,
Because we're not, we're people who live here.
right, yeah.
Okay.
In 10 words or less, if we don't treat the milfoil, what's the effect on the lake?
Eventually, the milfoil will take over, clog, and you won't have access. The property owners and guests won't have access to use the water.
If
It's
you
a
drain
great,
it,
it's a great habitat in the beginning for fish, but after a while, it clogs everything up, I'm telling you.
Right. John?
No, I think we're beating this thing up pretty good.
Okay.
well, yeah, daggone it.
Bob, anything else?
No, the only thing is you don't know what the far reaches of the lawsuit could do to this town, if that stuff that he uses
Right,
to do. I'm not saying he's got to guarantee it, but I'm just
right.
trying to be aware of it, where I fed you around the law too, so I'm catching it all up with me, so I know what it's like. So, but,
Okay, all right. Anything else? So we can vote on the 28th.
Yeah, I will talk to Solitude about the questions that have arisen about an extra treatment. What's that involved? What is that gonna be? And also ask them what the ramifications are if we don't do anything with this until after March meeting, because we won't have the funds to do it.
Thank you.
I think all that, if I may, one more, oh, no, I'll stop.
Treasury.
I just have mine, I don't have anything from Sandy.
Okay. We're solvent for another month. Good? All right. Okay, I think I've hit all. I want to move on to Old Town Hall rental.
Oh, that's me.
Again?
Sorry, this is just another situation that came up that I thought maybe the board would like to entertain. Today we had an employee coming in inquiring about renting the town hall, full-time employee, non-resident. So currently, non-resident would pay a non-resident fee. Would it be a feasible and benefit to the town employees to let full-time employees be treated to utilize, to rent or utilize the town hall in the same way as residents, as a benefit?
Thoughts? Everybody understands the
Full-time
problem?
employees or any employees?
Full-time employees.
Why full-time?
Yeah.
Why not part-time?
Well,
What about volunteers?
If I
What
may,
about time?
yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Volunteers,
Joe?
yeah.
we have always allowed non-resident employees join in on anything the town does as far as, being accepted as town residents, like from the rec crew and stuff like that. Any of the Christmas parties, Halloween parties and stuff like that, that's basically the harvest dinner that's made specifically just for the residents. We've always extended courtesy to their employees and their families as well, even though they don't live in town. That's my thought, I would say, I wouldn't care.
And so, not necessarily, it's a good question about employees, so I would say employees.
Yeah,
It says
and wouldn't matter
part-timers and
whether
volunteers.
full-time or part-time.
Yeah, I didn't mean to go that way.
Hey, you're right.
That's what I wanted to know, whether we're part-time or full-time.
Hold on, Joanne.
Is it even necessary to make a distinction in the written regulations when you have the option as selectmen to make other arrangements?
No, but we could to clarify.
I'd like to have it in policy so that
Yeah,
it's applicable to everyone.
For now,
for now, we could make an exception,
Right.
but in the future, we could change it so, I'm a one to have it so that there's no question as to the policy.
It's one paragraph.
How much is the difference?
Lot of difference
And
between
it's $50.
resident versus non-resident.
It's only $50.
$50.
$50 difference? So one might be,
$150 I think is non-resident and resident is $100 for a private event.
I'd be in favor of
they do as
doing
much,
just what you said.
they do as much and more for the town sometimes
Sure.
as some of our residents,
Yeah,
so.
so, but certainly for this time, I would say exception, but by the next time we meet, if we get on the right wording to amend the policy.
Yep, okay. Thank you.
Agree, not agree?
So basically, if you're a resident and an employee that live here, you don't get anything different than if you were just a resident, right?
Correct.
Correct.
Right,
Right.
okay.
Okay.
I'm just making sure I understand.
All right,
So we'll make you pay twice.
So you guys have agreed for this guy to, for this individual to go ahead?
and pay the resident price,
Okay.
okay? And I'd like to see the wording changed to include any employee of the town, full-time, part-time, okay? But I'd like to have that wording written down so we can vote on it.
Yep.
next
Okay.
week, okay? All right. Mr. Keegan, I believe you're up next.
Yep.
So does I, just, I'm not sure what you wanna talk about, but just remember to,
Well, we had discussed before at prior meeting that, over the septic system and stuff that's up behind my house
okay,
on the other property. And, there's been a machine up there digging, right there where the supposed or alleged non-existent or illegal I was never really sure on what the conclusion of that was, that they were just gonna shut the water off on, or whatever the hell it was that we came up with. But there's a machine up there digging right in that spot, so in the middle of January, I don't really know what exactly it would be doing there, but you already know my feelings on having a septic system up there. For the existent or non-existent business that's up there, which I've never really got an answer on either. So I'm just putting the ball back in your court. What do you want to do?
okay. Quick question for John and then you folks. Do you know of any plans submitted, approved for septic?
I don't have anything from the state, however, I know that somebody was hired to do a design for them.
But a design does not mean.
But it has not been, and I don't know if it's been submitted. And I don't know, normally you don't do any work until you get paperwork back from the state.
We get,
I have not been notified.
and we get notified of septic designs, or when,
We normally get notified from the state that a design has been submitted and they get an approval for construction. I have not received that yet.
And that goes across your desk.
Pardon?
After it's been approved or applied for, it goes across your desk, so you're aware of it.
It goes, yes, it comes to me and it goes to the state, but I haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
Is it required to come here?
It's normally, the state can make an exception. If that person went directly to the state, they normally notify me pretty soon after they get it.
Do you have to say approve, that the town approves of that design being done? And
They approved the design, not me.
what I'm asking is, does the
Do you
town?
approve, do you approve, John, once you get, once the design is submitted, the state, whether they make the approval or they send it to you for approval, you have not done any approval for any
I have not
septic
done
design down there
anything. I have
whatsoever.
not seen
So if they're
anything.
down there putting one and they're doing it illegally,
Well,
I don't know what they're doing up
also
there.
No, just have,
Hold on, John? Who approves the septic design? I know the state does. Do you have the authority to as well?
no.
No,
No, so it's not a case that you're ever gonna approve, you just have knowledge of it.
yeah.
Okay.
Do you have
So,
approval over whether one actually goes in or not?
No,
Whether it's approved or
No.
not?
No.
Okay, so
Roxanne?
it is my understanding, and this clearly, I may be incorrect, but as that part of that being, as being part landowner up there, they have to have all landowners' permissions to put in a septic system.
Correct.
So you should not be seeing a septic design come through.
So basically, I would recommend at this point, okay, because first situation was the junkyard down there, was not a legal junkyard. We have made progress with the parties involved to get it cleaned up, and they've done it very well. Not within time frame, but they've done it, it's completed.
So that's
At the end,
entirely,
at the end of all of that, we went and done a final inspection, and the very last comments talking to the parties involved were, now you have to start working on getting yourself a legal business down here to operate, okay?
Okay, now when does that conversation take place?
That, at the last, when we did the last final inspection, I think it was in June or July of last summer. We went in and they cleaned up all the tires and stuff like that, and as a parting shot, to make them aware that you need to start working on making your business a legal business.
That goes through the planning board.
So they have to come get the stuff from the planning board and start submitting all the paperwork to do so. That was if I remember correctly, that paperwork was even sent to them to start the process. We have not seen anything through the planning board. So, having said that, they are still operating a business down there, which is not a legal business. So I think the next thing we need to do, okay, is I think we need to contact legal and send a letter of a cease and desist immediately on anything and everything down there because of the fact it's illegal. I don't care how long it's been there, it's not done proper, it has not gone through the proper steps that everybody else sit down, they have to go through. Okay? In the meantime, I think it's code enforcement's job to take a little visit down there and see if they are actually in the process of submitting, putting in, installing a septic system. I mean, and if that's the case, you need to stop them. You
well,
can't
if
do
the
it.
water, if the water is froze, there shouldn't have been any water anyway, because there isn't a septic system.
No.
It's fine. We're gonna do our part as a town.
All right.
Well, I'm gonna want answers to what was going on. If you're out there digging, you know, one time I was digging, actually the same guy who was digging up there was digging at my house. We had that fella from Massachusetts was the code guy then, I can't remember what his name was, but stopped at my house, started screaming and hollering at me that I don't have a permit and what the hell is he doing on that machine? Now, at the time, I wasn't aware that you needed to have a permit to put footings in. I knew you needed a building permit. And in the end, you know, I came up and paid but, you know, I'm saying that if they're not putting in a septic, then what are they doing? Because like she just said, she's a part landowner. There shouldn't be anything going on without her knowledge
Okay, but
anyway.
point taken, but the thing is, until you come in tonight, we had no idea.
Right.
So let us do a job to figure it out.
Right.
And we can see what's going on. Maybe
Just-
they're
but
digging
just so I'm
a, maybe
clear
they're
on-
digging a hole to put some tires, I don't know.
Just so I'm clear on, when you
That's
told
not good
them, when you told them to get the process going on getting the business legit, you know, being done legitimately, were you basically turning a blind eye to them running the business the way it was for the last 6 months?
No, but the problem is they're always there established like that, and this is how they make them income and whatever, and go to bed.
Established like what?
We're going through the process, we're taking care of it. That's all I can
Because as
tell you.
far as I'm concerned, there is no business there. There never was a business there, but I got all kinds of traffic through the property that I own. You aren't gonna hear me acknowledge that there is a business.
And I'm not gonna acknowledge it either.
Well,
Bob?
Anyway,
I wonder, to separate from the family feud, I got a small business I started on my property. I never applied for no permit. I have no permits for that. to
You
run
have
a
a
business.
business, Bob.
But
Huh?
when did it start, when did you?
You have a business.
But Bob,
I
when did
don't
you
have a
start-
business.
When did you
Well, you
start?
did.
I started 91.
So they
So
probably.
what I wanna know now is, hearing this rhetoric going on, how do I legally, because I just put my house up for sale today. Because I just can't afford the taxes on
Okay.
that. You forced me out. I did wanna come tonight, maybe it's the wrong time, to see if there's any relief for people who are 75. I'm gonna take probably $100,000 cut on my house in order to be able to sell it, because of your high tax rate. Could I sell that house if you guys decide, who buys it for $100,000, be assessed at that rate, because that's what it's worth, not what you're assessing at.
We gotta stick to the subject here.
Yeah.
Well, but so the subject you just brought up is about business. I didn't know you had a criteria to follow in this town to have business. We never did before, we just did it. So now what do we do to make it legal?
Okay.
I thought we was grandfathered. Now they're saying he's not grandfathered. He's
I have been
there for 40 years.
informed as the
Don't have a
code
business,
enforcement
man.
officer.
Who don't?
Whoa, Bob, talk to us, please.
I have been informed by the selectmen to start going out road to road and seeing whatever businesses are out there and have them the names brought back to the office. We will send a letter out to them. We will find out if they're legitimate businesses. And if they are not, they have to submit to the planning board to go through the process. And that means everybody, whenever you were built, whenever you started your business, it will be done that way from now on.
From now on.
From now on.
But if you're
But
already-
everybody who's existing is gonna have to follow the same thing.
So you have no
That-
pre-existing.
I don't know who was in business before this
Hold
went
on,
into
we got
effect.
two people talking. John?
That decision on how we will handle existing businesses has not been decided yet. However, the town, you're right, Bob, there's businesses, you yourself, one, there's been business here. We have had no idea of what is here. There are businesses that have cropped up, not as old as you are, that have cropped up that we have done nothing about, that are questionable whether they are right or not. The reason zoning regulations are put forth is to protect the town itself in terms of how a business is run, how it affects the environment, how it affects the traffic, safety, and so forth and so on. So, this has been, if we take action on one, we have to be fair and take action on all those that would be affected. That doesn't necessarily mean everybody's gonna get affected. We have to take a look at all the businesses that we see. There's a lot of businesses that don't need permits, don't need to go before the planning board, but there are certain ones that do. And if they do, we will have to decide who's grandfathered, who's not grandfathered,
Do we have any
whatever.
guidelines
So
on
we
that?
haven't gotten to the total process yet. But I did tell John today that it was the thought of the board to go out and start finding out
A list of
a
those.
list of who's out there. That doesn't mean that we're gonna go down with everybody and send everybody a letter and say, you're all gonna have to come in and get a permit. But we wanna know a baseline. We have no baseline. Businesses have been popping up. I got one in my own neighborhood that's popped up. He's
What do you
that close.
What are you looking for a timeline?
Well, I asked John for 30 days.
Can you do it in 30 days?
Hopefully.
You're all right?
I've asked for
I'm
30
gonna-
We better
I'll
give him a
try.
raise. We better give him a raise right now.
I'll try.
That's all the work.
I mean, I'm gonna be spending time
Yeah.
doing this because it's gonna take a little time to go out there and inspect every road and see what's out there. Then I've gotta bring a list back.
Is it safe to say that anyone here or anyone in town that knows of a business is welcome to give you a heads up?
I'll
I
give
would
you a couple.
appreciate it. Yeah.
You could
That I
put me
know
on
about.
the list, John, my truck's in the garage, so you wouldn't even know it anyway.
I think you're right, John, I think there are businesses here, and you know some, sure.
Or
I was just kinda wondering about we got no guidelines on grandfather, cause I was here before you had zoning. I've worked in that dooryard since I had the house.
There
paper.
isn't, there's no such, in the zoning regulations, there's no word in there that says grandfather.
No, what I'm saying, well, I was there before you had zoning,
Well, that's possibly true.
business wise. I can show you the slip, that's
So,
1972.
just an outside thought, what would have to take, you'd have to take into consideration
I know that, but
those things.
I'm gonna quagmire it. I didn't realize that you guys were getting this professional. So,
Thank you.
well, cityfied, I call it.
There you go.
When my boy come home from Iraq, I wanted him to build a camp, and you couldn't do it in this town. I said, what the hell do you think Midland's for? To build first-class houses? I said, the guy right over the Sunrise Lake there, you wanted zoning, you wanted zoning enforcement. I said, you bought this camp and it's burnt. Who did the wiring? I did. Who did I did.
Yeah.
That's what the town of Midland was for when it started.
Well, it's changed.
Okay, all right, so,
Can we balk a little?
we're okay? Good?
Your grandfather had-
Just understand where we're going on this, right?
I will take a ride up there
That's
tomorrow.
job one, check that out.
I will check that out
Folks,
tomorrow.
here, your job one is check it out, above his house. And beyond that, start compiling a list of businesses in town.
Alright.
Okay,
See, I'm
anything
al-
else to come before us?
I've always done
Yes.
I
Yeah,
asked
yeah,
this
so
earlier,
let's
so I
catch
just
up.
wanna make sure I understand this. So we have, a vacancy on the budget committee, and
spirit
we
of
have
all
an
time, but
individual who's interested to fill that position till the end of the term, or to the end of this, till voting in March, sorry. Just the process as to how she gets put on the, board. And I think we had discussed this, that I need to at the next, well, someone at the next budget committee meeting needs to make a motion to add her to the committee to be brought forth before the Board of Selectmen for
Right.
approval.
Yes.
And then at the next meeting on the 28th,
28th.
that you would approve, well,
The process-
review it, improve it, hopefully.
You said it correctly.
Okay,
And on your next meeting is the 21st?
yes, a week from tonight.
Whether she's officially put on the board or not, she's certainly welcome to sit there and listen.
Yes, I
And that
invited
might
her,
help
she's
you out
coming.
to get
She's
started
coming,
on this.
yes.
Vote.
Yeah,
Okay,
right.
all right. Anything else? Yes, sir.
Are we done?
I am done, yes.
You're done? You're done?
Yeah.
No?
He's done.
I just have one little thing, just a personal thing.
Little?
It'll probably go on for a couple hours.
He's not kidding.
I just wanted to let everybody know that I will not be running again for selectman, or I will not be running for selectman. It's been a pleasure for me to work with the people of Middleton over the years since 2000 and
Forever.
whatever. 2000 and, I think it was, I think after, I retired in 2007, and I think I ran for selectman in 2008. I enjoyed working with everybody during that. I've enjoyed and appreciate the appointment that I received from the board, and have worked with pleasure with the board and with the people of the town of Middleton to help move forward on working on the heritage in the old town hall. I also spent 6 years in the State House representing you and the residents of Milton. And I appreciate the support that you gave me, but I think it's time for me to move on and retire. But again, I just wanted to let everybody know, I really appreciate all the support that everybody has given me throughout my time here, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff.
We'll just put you in as a write-in.
I'll write exactly.
John, you're not running is our loss.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thanks.
All right, anything else for the good of the town?
Make a
Well-
motion.
Yeah?
I really, you went on the Sunrise Lake thing, but where's Solitude Lake in Middleton?
That's the
Oh, that's the same
agreement.
thing.
That's,
No, I wanna know where Solitude Lake is, I know we got Sunrise Lake.
That's the name,
Where's-
that's the
where's
name of the, that's the name of the company.
Okay,
Solitude.
okay, now I get it, okay.
it's that one that's only one person
Make-
allowed at.
Make a motion?
Who's making the motion?
I make a motion, we adjourn?
At 7:55.
You need a second, let's wait a minute. We'll just wait a minute. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.